Hi guys, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. The fly you see in the vise is a wet fly. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook you see in the vise is a Hanak H230 barbless hook. This one's at size 12, it's on a medium wire and it's finished in black nickel. Now I'm using a medium wired hook because I want this fly to fish quite high in the water. And the thread I'm going to be using today, it's from Troutline, it's a Sumo thread. 50 denier in white, and as always with these kinds of GSP threads, we're going to just add a little spot of super glue to the shank of the hook just to prevent body rotation. So I'll use my thread just to work that bit of glue up, and I'm going to get a bed of tying silk all the way to the back of the hook. Then I can remove my waste. Now I don't get a lot of opportunity really to fish wet flies on the river because the chalk streams tend to not allow you to swing wets across and down, so subsequently I don't fish them a whole lot. Only when I travel north I get a chance to occasionally fish wet flies, but I've got a few in the box just in case the opportunity should arise. So the next thing I want to do is tie in the wire rib, and I'm using some 0.1mm black wire, and I have got a piece on my bench here which I had been working away with, so I'm going to grab that just in, and I'm going to take it all the way up to approximately where I'm going to tie my wings in. And I say wings because there is 2 hackles on this fly. So first thing I want to do now is to grab my body material, and what I'm using is some Mirage tinsel. This is in medium and it's opal. So again, I've got a little piece here that I've been working away with, and I want to catch that in the entire length of the shank just to keep the body nice and uniform. Now I'm gonna, once I've got it caught in, I can actually use the Mirage as a guide to put down the thread. I'll come all the way to the back of the hook. Just check that I've got to the right length, and I'm happy enough with that, and then in open turns I can come back up to the front of the hook. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put several extra turns in here at the eye, and the reason I'm doing that is I'm going to use the rotary function to simply wrap up the body, which serves 2 purposes. I avoid the point of the hook and I make sure I cover every bit of the shank with my mylar. I remember where I sort of learned how to fish wet flies was in Slovenia, and my friend Del, who lives up in Cumbria, he showed me how to fish wets properly, and the mistake I was doing, and I still do it to this day actually, is with wet flies, is you shouldn't strike. Once you've cast them across and they're fishing down, when you get that little take, don't strike. Just wait for everything to lock up, and that's how you catch fish. Unfortunately, I'm still just a little bit quick, and I end up striking and losing the fish. So just a little hint on fishing them there. Let the fish hook themselves. So I'm bringing the wire rib up, I'm keeping my spacing as even as I can. The mylar is quite slippy, so you've just got to be careful as you're bringing this up and through. And once I get to where I'm going to start tying in the hackles, I can lock that wire into place. So a couple of turns over the wire, a couple of turns in front to lock it into place. Then keeping tension on your thread, you can simply helicopter that away. Now I could carry on and just tie in the hackles at this point, but what I always like to do is just give the body a little coat of UV resin, and there's a couple of reasons for that. If should I say, you're lucky enough to catch a fish, the first thing that will happen is, if you don't do this stage, is that your wire will start pushing about on your body. As I said earlier, it's quite slippy, and once the teeth of the fish get in about that wire, it will soon come undone, and you want the fly to last more than 1 or 2 fish. So this just helps. The other way you can do it, of course, if you have the time, is just put a thin coat of varnish or super glue down, and that'll do the same sort of job. But as we're doing this tutorial here, resin's probably the quickest way of doing it. So now when I rub that body, the ribs aren't moving anywhere. So next thing then is the first hackle. As I said, I'm using two hackles, and the first one, this is from Troutline, natural grey partridge feather. Only got a few left, I need to get some more, and they come already pre-cleaned in the packet, so they're good to go straight out the packet. And what I want to do with this is catch the tip with my hackle pliers, and then I'm going to just off camera here, I'm going to sweep that back until I've got the Christmas tree effect going on, and then I can simply cut myself a little tag to catch that in. And before I do that, I'm just going to add a little bit of wax to my nano silk here. Now, I've used white on purpose, and you might have noticed with the fly itself it has a black head, and we'll come on to that as we finish the fly up. But if you use black thread when you're putting mylar over the top, it does slightly change the colour of the body. So you've got to be wary of the thread you're using. Don't just tie on because it's convenient and that's the colour you want your head. I'm just going to give that a little clockwise spin just to tighten everything up on the thread, and while that's doing that, I can come in with my hackle pliers and start to bring in my first hackle. Now on the half turn there, I'm just going to start to encourage the fibres back. You can see I've still got quite a lot of room at the front, and I'm looking for between 2 and 3 turns. As I come round this time, I'm going to come in between the fibres, and hopefully I'll be locking that into place. Now if I let go of my hackle pliers at this point, sweep everything back, get 2 or 3 turns in the front, and then I'm going to come in with my scissors and simply remove the excess. So I suppose traditionally a wet fly, you would just have the one hackle, and that'll work perfectly well. If I finished it off as it is with a head, it'll be fine. You'll catch plenty of fish. But what I want to do with this is just add another little dimension to it, and what I've got is a black hen hackle here. And again, I'm going to do exactly what I did with the partridge feather, and I'm going to slick it back to get that Christmas tree type effect. And again, I'm going to get myself a little tag like so, just a wee bit big there. Then what I can do, you'll notice that the feather has a natural bend, and what I want to do is use that natural bend so that the fibres slick back. So I'm going to just switch it round in my hand and catch in the tag. And I don't tie a whole lot, as I said, because I just don't get the use out of them, but they're good fun to tie, and they seem simple, but actually getting the hackling right can be quite challenging. You've just got to be patient and practice. So again, as I bring the hackling round, I'm using my thumb and forefinger just to slick all that back. Now again, I'm looking for between 2 and 3 turns with this one. That's the second one, and I might get one more in because I've left the space. And as it comes round this time, I'm able to work my way through the fibres like so, and then once I'm happy I've trapped it in, I can release the hackle pliers. Now once you've released the hackle pliers, make sure you've got tension on your thread. That's how you control everything. And this is for the same for any fly. If you've got tension, you've got control. So pull everything back, and then lock that into place and create a small head. Now this should be gentle enough for me just to pull away, and you can see that's coming together quite nicely. Now, as I said earlier, I'm using white thread because I wanted that effect on the body, and how I'm going to get round that now is simply come in with a black pro marker, and then I can colour in my sumo thread to create a different colour. I mean, I could just cast off and then cast on black thread, but this is just as easy, if not easier actually. Saves you a bit of time. Now, once I've got that nice small head created, I can come in with my whip finish tool and just finish up like so. Then just for completeness, we can come in with you can either use super glue, varnish, or in this case for me I'm going to use a spot of resin. And just finish up the fly. Now, wet fly fishing can be a little bit frustrating. Well, it certainly has been for me, should I say. You've just got to be patient and remember, don't strike. That's the key. Don't strike when you get the take. Just hang on to your rod. I think it's the same for salmon fishing. I always remember going up to Scotland and Jock Ryan saying to me, don't strike, stop striking. And what he did in the end, because I couldn't stop striking, was he made me hold the rod down at my hip. And it's very difficult to strike if you've got your arms straight holding a rod down to the hip. And that's how I got out of that habit. But there we go. Little wet fly, maybe one to add to your arsenal. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.